The night was bitterly cold, the kind of cold that cuts straight through thin clothes and gnaws at bare skin until every bone aches. The street was mostly deserted, except for the lonely bus stop where an old flickering streetlight buzzed against the silence. James stood there, his hands shoved deep into his worn-out pockets, shifting his weight from one leg to the other to stay warm. His jacket was thin, fraying at the cuffs, and hardly enough to shield him from the freezing wind, but at least it was something. That night, James wasn't only waiting for the bus, he was waiting for another long shift at a job that barely paid the bills, the kind of job that left a man feeling invisible, forgotten, and endlessly exhausted. And then he saw her. A woman stood at the far end of the bus stop, her arms wrapped tightly around herself as if she were trying to hold the warmth in with sheer determination. Her coat looked fashionable but far too light for the weather, her breath coming out in trembling clouds. Her face was pale, and her lips pressed together in a way that suggested she wasn't used to this, wasn't used to standing alone in the cold, waiting for something she couldn't control. She shivered violently, and James, despite the fact that he was nearly frozen himself, felt something stir inside him. Without hesitation, he slipped off his jacket, the only real shield he had against the biting wind, and draped it over her shoulders. That simple act would change everything. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the way small actions can ripple through life to create miracles, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel Royal Stories. Your support means the world, and it helps us continue sharing powerful stories just like this one. The woman glanced at James in surprise, as if she hadn't expected such a gesture from a stranger in the middle of the night. For James, it wasn't about being noticed. He didn't ask for thanks or even think about whether she would return his jacket. He simply couldn't watch someone suffer when he had even a shred of warmth to give. The bus eventually came, its headlights glowing against the frost, and James climbed on without saying much. The woman gave him a faint nod, clutching his jacket closer, and he thought that was the end of it. Just another night in a long line of nights where he gave a little and got nothing back. But life has a way of circling back, of rewarding quiet kindness when least expected. James's life wasn't easy. He lived in a small, cramped apartment that leaked when it rained and groaned with every gust of wind. He worked long hours at a warehouse where boxes piled higher than dreams, where every paycheck vanished almost as quickly as it came, toward rent, groceries, and the never-ending debts that chained him. His shoes had holes in them, and his fridge often held more empty shelves than meals. Yet he never complained out loud. He simply carried on, day after day, hoping for something better but never truly expecting it. Weeks passed since that cold night, and the memory of the shivering woman faded into the blur of his exhausting routine. Until one morning, when James walked into work and found the entire warehouse buzzing. A woman in a sharp, elegant suit stood in the center of the floor, her presence commanding attention. She was speaking with the managers, her voice calm but strong, her eyes scanning the place with precision. James nearly dropped the box he was carrying when he realized it was her, the same woman from the bus stop, only now she wasn't shivering or vulnerable. She looked powerful, confident, and entirely out of place in the dusty warehouse. That day marked the beginning of a shift James never saw coming. The woman, whose name was Claire, wasn't just visiting. She was the new CEO of the company that owned the warehouse. She had been conducting surprise inspections, walking into the very heart of the places her company relied on, wanting to see for herself how things ran. And when her eyes fell on James, recognition flickered. She remembered the man who had given up his jacket on that bitter night. She remembered his quiet, selfless act when he had no reason to help her. Over the days that followed, Claire's visits became more frequent. She asked questions, not just of the managers, but of the workers themselves. She wanted to know what they endured, what they needed, and what was broken beneath the polished reports she received in her office. James, shy and reserved, never expected to catch her attention again. Yet she sought him out, speaking to him with genuine curiosity. And slowly, she began to uncover his story, the long hours, the sacrifices, the battles with poverty, and the fact that even in his struggles, he still gave without asking. Claire wasn't just a leader, she was a woman who valued loyalty, humanity, and heart. And she couldn't forget the night at the bus stop, when the roles were reversed and he had been her silent savior. What unfolded next felt like a miracle to James. He was offered opportunities he never dreamed possible, first small changes, like better shifts and recognition, then larger ones. Claire introduced him to training programs, leadership roles, and chances to rise beyond the warehouse floor. But more than that, she showed him respect. She listened to his ideas, encouraged him to believe in his worth, and reminded him that kindness wasn't weakness, it was strength. For the first time in his life, James felt seen. Yet his journey wasn't without challenges. Some coworkers resented the attention he received. Others whispered that he was lucky, nothing more. James wrestled with doubt, with the fear that he didn't deserve the chances unfolding before him. Nights were still lonely, and old scars of hardship clung to him like shadows. But Claire's belief in him never wavered. She pushed him gently but firmly, urging him to keep going, to rise higher than the world had ever allowed him to believe he could. And slowly, James began to transform. The man who once stood shivering in the cold, stripped of hope, began to stand taller. He learned, he grew, and he proved himself, not through arrogance, but through quiet determination. The day came when he no longer saw himself as invisible. He was valued, he was capable, and he finally began to imagine a future where kindness could lead to something extraordinary. By the time James became a respected leader within the company, his story had spread. Not as a fairy tale, but as a testament to how one act of compassion, one moment of selflessness, could ignite a chain of events that changed everything. Claire never forgot that night at the bus stop, and James never forgot that sometimes, the smallest gestures hold the power to rewrite a life. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the strength of kindness and the unexpected ways life can turn around, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Royal Stories. Your engagement helps keep these stories alive, so we can continue to spread hope and inspiration to the world. And before we end, here's a special request. Tell us in the comments what kindness means to you. Your words might inspire someone else who needs a reminder of humanity's light.